Hello transcribers. As you can see, we're out and about today at the Globe Theatre, the spiritual home of William Shakespeare. Lots of his plays were first performed here, although this is actually a rebuilt version. At the end of this video I'll show you what's left of the original Globe Theatre. Now, Shakespeare coined many words and phrases that we still use in English today. The next time you say leapfrog or frugal or hurry, you're actually using words that Shakespeare made up. Also, lots of the lines from Shakespeare's plays are still commonly heard in English today, and it's worth getting familiar with them because they might crop up in your transcription work. So today we'll look at 10 of Shakespeare's more famous quotes. Before that, a quick word from our sponsor, the FTW Transcriber, about just one of its features. The FTW Transcriber's automatic timestamps save loads of time, but they always start from 0, because they get their timing from the audio or video file you're playing. So, what if a client wants you to use on-screen timestamps that don't start at 0? Won't all the automatic timestamps be wrong? No, because with the FTW Transcriber you can set your timestamps to start at any figure, even a negative one. Big time saver. Right, let's make a start. So on the next screen you will see and hear a sentence in modern English, and that sentence is the modern equivalent of something that Shakespeare said. So you have to try to guess what the Shakespeare phrase is. So here we go.
Life is just one big performance.
Life is just one big performance. So what did Shakespeare say in one of his plays which means that? Here's a clue. That's Shakespeare's sentence with some words blotted out. Any ideas? I'll give you another of the words. And here is the answer.
All the world's a stage.
All the world's a stage. That was what Shakespeare said. And that is from the play As You Like It. And there's a picture of a stage with a group of people performing As You Like It. Number 2.
She's trying too hard to deny it. It's suspicious.
So what did Shakespeare say which means that? Here's a clue for you. And here are some more words. And here's the answer.
The lady doth protest too much, methinks.
The lady doth protest too much, methinks. In other words, if you deny something too vociferously, then it starts to look a bit suspicious. And that's from Hamlet. And that is a picture of the actual castle in Denmark, Elsinore Castle, where Hamlet is set. And you can see Sweden in the far distance there across the water. The reason the castle's there is because the Danes used to force passing ships to pay a toll when they went through that stretch of water. Okay, number 3.
Be yourself.
Be yourself, short and sweet. But Shakespeare wouldn't have said it like that, of course. He would have said it in a much more poetic way. So what did he say which means that? Here's a clue. And here's a bit more. And here's the answer.
To thine own self be true.
To thine own self be true. And that's from Hamlet. And there's a picture of Shakespeare's, I think it's Shakespeare's first folio, which is something like the first collected works of Shakespeare. Number 4.
If music keeps love going, then keep it coming.
What did Shakespeare say which means that? Here's a clue. And here's a bit more. And here's the answer.
If music be the food of love, play on.
And that is from Twelfth Night. And there's a picture of the duel scene in Twelfth Night. Shakespeare has inspired lots of painters over the years. Lots of them have painted scenes from his plays. That's one of them. Number 5.
Just because something looks nice doesn't mean it's valuable.
How did Shakespeare say that? Here's a clue. And here's a bit more. And here's the answer.
All that glisters is not gold.
Yes, back in the day they said glisters. Today most people say glitters. The word glisters has died out. So all that glitters is not gold. That is from The Merchant of Venice. There's a picture of Portia talking to Shylock, the moneylender, the one who wanted to extract his pound of flesh. Number 6.
If you have power, people will try to take it away from you.
How did Shakespeare say that? There's a clue. And here's a bit more. And here's the answer.
Uneasy lies the head that wears a crown.
Uneasy lies the head that wears a crown. In other words, if you have power, you'll struggle to sleep at night because you'll always be looking over your shoulder. And that is from Henry IV, Part 2. I think that's a picture of Falstaff there. Number 7.
It doesn't matter what you call something. It's still the same thing.
How did Shakespeare say that? Here's a clue. And here's a bit more. And here's the answer.
A rose by any other name would smell as sweet.
And that is from Romeo and Juliet. And that is probably the most famous scene in the whole of theatre, the balcony scene from Romeo and Juliet. And you can actually go to Verona, where Romeo and Juliet is set, and you can see a balcony. It's not the balcony, because Romeo and Juliet is fiction, but it's a balcony that the tourist board in Verona have decided is the balcony. So tourists queue up to be photographed there. Number 8.
Jokes often hide real truths.
How did Shakespeare say that? Here's a clue. And here's a bit more. And here's the answer.
Many a true word hath been spoken in jest.
And that is from King Lear, which I don't know much about, but I think that's a picture of Cordelia from King Lear. Number 9.
People's sins are remembered. Their good deeds are forgotten.
How did Shakespeare say that? Here's a clue. And here's a bit more. And here's the answer.
The evil that men do lives after them. The good is oft interred with their bones.
I like that one. Interred means buried. And that quote is from Julius Caesar. And there's a painting of the murder scene from Julius Caesar, just after Brutus has stabbed Caesar to death. And lastly, number 10.
Romantic relationships are never simple.
How did Shakespeare say that? Here's a bit more. And here's the answer.
The course of true love never did run smooth.
And that is from A Midsummer Night's Dream, a lovely, charming picture to finish off with there. That's Tatiana sleeping with the fairies. And we are done. All's well that ends well, as Shakespeare would have said. I mentioned earlier that the present-day Globe Theatre is a rebuilt version of the old one. The actual old one, what's left of it, is behind me. Now there are just ruins, and even those ruins weren't rediscovered until 1989. But anyway, for fans of Shakespeare, this site is hallowed ground. Bye for now.